Oh my god, it worked. Oh my god. I wished that we would start filming in a different room for the podcast.
Yeah, for the fourth time now, we're in a different location.
And it works. It worked. And also, I'm talking into the correct side of the microphone. Like a couple episodes ago, I wasn't. So things are finally starting to look up, David.
Just make sure I'm also talking in the right side of the microphone. I am.
He is. Confirmed.
Back. It says back over here.
Yeah. And it says Audio Technica over here. Anyway.
Gucci, you got a squeaky ass chair. Sorry about that, guys.
Can you hear it?
Hopefully. Yeah.
So what do you think?
That's terrible.
You like that? Probably not. It's awful looking.
Just don't move so much. Stay perfectly still.
I won't move a muscle.
Anyway, welcome to the Too Bad We Didn't Get Into Cars podcast. Today we're joined by this wonderful purple Volkswagen Golf V GT.
Hold it up to the camera.
Dragon Ball Z Kai.
Hold it up.
Super.
So
whatever
people
the hell
know
it
what
is.
it is.
GT. Golf V GTS. I did get that right. Here it is. Ooh, some of that. Ooh, some of this. Some of that. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Beautiful purple car. It's not beautiful. It's fucking ugly. Let's be real. That car sucks. If you drive that car, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm going to start moving again. I couldn't do that. I don't know how people in big cities do that when they spray themselves in silver paint and they pretend to be statues and then they steal your money and stab you in the heart and steal your kidneys. Just me? Does that only happen to just me?
Like Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah. Actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf. My name is Nick Scarpin Auto. That is...
been known to be called David Kabushi Cars in the past.
And this is episode 42 of the Too Bad We Didn't Get Into Cars podcast. We're getting up there in age, but we're not letting it show because we're as young and as spry as ever. Today we have a couple of fun things that we're going to talk about. But before that, I want to talk to you guys about my weekend because I just got back from Milwaukee. We drove there. So it wasn't Mill Drive-y, but...
What?
I really... You're going to make me do this?
Oh, Milwaukee.
You're going to make me explain this?
Miljoggy.
Mill Swimmy.
That's like a joke I'd make.
Mill Flyy. Yeah, no, we Mill Drovey there. And we went to Milwaukee because for Christmas, I bought my little sister tickets to go see the Sonic Symphony. So if you haven't heard of the Sonic Symphony, it is just a symphony orchestra playing music from the Sonic the Hedgehog series. And it was beautiful. And I cried a couple of times in the first half. And then in the second half, they brought out the band. It was not Crush 40 or any of the members from Crush 40 to my knowledge. But the band was still really fucking good. And the guitarist was one of the Japanese producers of the whole show. And I guess he plays every show. And he was fucking awesome. And he shredded any song that had a solo. It was so sick. And the drummer was awesome. And you could tell they all had backgrounds in like metal music. And the keyboard player was dancing the whole time. Even when he wasn't playing anything for a song. He had the longest, spindliest legs. And he was just like, you know, dancing and like rocking back. And it was awesome. For the very first time in my life at a symphonic concert, got to see an encore, which never happens. It's not like all of the orchestra members walk off stage and then come back on stage for two songs. But the band did, because we got to the end of the set and they had not played Escape from the City or Live and Learn yet. And that's what they closed the show out with. And when I tell you, this is one of the craziest crowds you could have had at an orchestra, like a symphonic orchestra concert. It was crazy, dude. And they're all Sonic fans, so you know they're all like, myself
nerds
included, they're all weird as hell, dude. So like but they felt really comfortable because they were surrounded by other Sonic fans. So they would like hold their Sonic plushies up in the air and they would scream stuff out at the band, and like the conductor turned around during the first half of the set, and he was like, also, by the way, this is not your regular. He was also a Sonic fan, so he was also a little weird, but I liked it. And he turned around after the first like 2 songs, and he was like, "It's not your regular orchestra concert. If you see your favorite character on stage, or favorite game, or favorite moment, or whatever, scream as loud as you can and cheer, and like that's encouraged." And so people started screaming. And they showed Sonic Mania footage because they played some music from Sonic Mania, and the little yellow guy, the flying squirrel, came on, and people were fucking going nuts. And it was just fun. And we went with my mom, who used to play Sonic 2 on her Genesis when I was a baby, and my little sister, and then my stepbrother, who, when we got to like the metal songs from like Sonic Frontiers, he was like, "This shit fucking rules." So it had a little something for everybody, and Milwaukee was fun. And when we went to Detroit, and when I've been to like Nashville and other like big cities around the U.S., I start to realize how good we have it in Chicago, because Chicago is like a legit like big city, and then you go to another city and it's like, all right, that's cool. It's not Chicago. So anyway, yeah, I highly recommend it. I don't know what it is about symphonic music that makes me so emotional, but I don't think there's going to be a single orchestral concert that I go to where I don't cry. And you said something a while back about how strings just make any song better.
They do. Yes, you add strings and the song is automatically cooler.
Yeah. And so just imagine a whole concert of that, and they play like Green Hill Zone, and it's just all, strings and piano and like the drums, but not the drum set. It's like the snare and the timpanis and yeah, it was awesome, dude. So if you get a chance, they're still on their world tour, and they liked my post that I made. I posted a video of Escape from the City into my story, and they have this big intro before the bass fill in the beginning. And so like they lead up to it, and then all of the band members like rush to the bass player, and he does a boom, boom, ba-dum, 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 and everyone goes fucking nuts, and it was awesome. Yeah, dude, it was so sick. It was like, it reminded me why I loved Sonic so much when we were younger. We were obsessed with Sonic. Oh, I wouldn't say obsessed, but like we were pretty far deep into that fandom.
I mean, I played it a lot. Shadow the Hedgehog was my first PS2 game.
Yeah. Knuckles is your boy.
Knuckles is my man.
And
so much so that I had to get his chicken sandwich at IHOP the other day.
Yeah, that's right. We went to IHOP the other day. I got the Tails 2x2x2, and also maple syrup flavored Pepsi.
Yeah.
And it turns out all of the Sonic menu items are just regular ass menu items, but they have Sonic characters attached to them now.
Yeah.
We were reading the descriptions to some of them, and for Shadow, it's I think it was like Shadow's ultimate chocolate pancakes.
Yeah. For the ultimate life form.
The description was like, unleash the chaos, and chaos was in all caps, and it was like, unleash the chaos of like chocolate goodness or whatever. And it was so stupid. I felt so dumb reading it. Aloud because it was so silly. And I was like, what's so ultimate about this? And David's just like, it's got a lot of chocolate, man.
Yeah, double chocolate.
It's for the ultimate life form. Yeah, they did Amy dirty, just because it was...
Yeah, it was just like a waffle strawberry dessert.
Yeah, which you got, by the way.
I did. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was damn good.
Yeah. They had an Eggs Benedict for Dr. Eggman. That only makes the most sense.
Yeah.
They also did Knuckles dirty because at least Amy's like name for her dish was kind of it was like something sweet, whatever.
Yeah.
But for Knuckles, they didn't even try. They just said Knuckles chicken sandwich.
Yeah, like a knuckle sandwich.
Yeah, but it doesn't translate as well because you had like Sonic's blue blur pancakes and like eggs like Dr. Eggsman Benedict or whatever, and then it's just like Knuckles chicken sandwich. Just very, very dry and boring.
It was a good sandwich, though. It was very good.
Yeah. So, to all you Sonic fans, boy, do we have something exciting for you today. I'm not talking about Sonic at all. Sorry. Don't click off. Don't click off, please. Please, we're still talking about fun stuff. Of course, we're still going down the list of our favorite albums and our favorite games of all time, which we both have lists.
Yeah, there's no Sonic game on either of our lists.
Unfortunately.
Sonic sucks ass.
Are we going to talk about this right now? I think we mentioned it. We mentioned it last episode, but the classic Sonic games really, they're not good.
You know, you go to the symphony concert, and that's because that was the only good thing about them. It was the music.
Yeah,
everything else sucks.
Even the gameplay that they show, because they showed gameplay from the various games on screen. Even for like the first 3 games, there's so much footage where like you see Sonic literally stop in his tracks, or he hits an enemy, or he like falls into like lava or whatever. And it's like even the people who are playing these games for like the official orchestra shows, even they are like, "Damn, dude, I want to go fast, and this game's not letting me go fast." And it's like, isn't that the whole point of the game? Anyway. But we're not talking about Sonic today. Instead, we're going to start today off by talking about our favorite animated movies. Because it's April. For whatever reason,
April animated.
There you go. Also, Easter is very there's a lot of pastel colors. There's like lighter pinks and teals and purples and stuff. And I'm like, they're very kid friendly. They're soft colors. So I figured we're gonna save blockbusters for the summer. You got horror movies in October. We already did rom-coms for February. We did comedies for March. So we're gonna talk animated movies. And my favorite animated movie of all time is, of course,
Mr. Incredible.
Bon Voyage. And Incrediboy.
Incrediboy?
It's the Incredibles. It's the fucking Incredibles, dude. They live up to their name. It is my favorite animated movie. It's one of my favorite movies ever. It's just, I can watch it anytime. It's one of the only movies that like I can watch and never be bored of. I've never tried watching it more than once in a row, but it was just when Pixar was at its prime. Like, do you remember 2014 MCU? Like when we got Guardians of the Galaxy and The Winter Soldier and like, I don't know what else came out around that time. I guess Age of Ultron isn't necessarily like peak MCU, but it was like anytime a new movie would come out, you would stay for the end credit scene because you were like, this could be legit hype. Yeah. And it made Captain America. It was like, that's the mid 2000s for Pixar. It was just like every fucking movie that came out between Toy Story and like 2010 was just banger after banger, dude. And it was like they could do no wrong. And I feel like The Incredibles was just like peak Pixar. Enjoy the plosives on peak Pixar. Mm-hmm. 2 big ass P's. Yeah, it was. So if you haven't heard about The Incredibles, it's a superhero movie, but it's a superhero movie about superheroes past their prime and getting asked to join the fray again. And it takes a look at what happens to superheroes like when they retire, or like, you know, a realistic take on what if superheroes lived in our world. And there's a scene in the beginning where Mr. Incredible saves a dude who is trying to commit suicide by jumping off of a building. And then the dude sues him because he's like, I didn't ask to be saved. That's what I wanted to do. And he has like a broken neck in court. Yeah. And so it's a movie that asks the question, you know, like what makes us super? And I don't know. It's just full of iconic scenes and lines. Obviously, you have the Frozone bits, the where is my super suit scene. Mm-hmm. You have Mr. Incredible lifting up the car in the driveway and the kid on the tricycle. He's like, and what are you waiting for? And he's like, I don't know.
Something cool, I guess.
Yeah, and he like shrinks in his little tricycle. It even has like iconic scenes in its bonus, like the straight to DVD. Do you remember when they would come out with like little bonus movies like on the DVD? And there was the one where Syndrome it takes place in the movie, but it's not like a part of the movie where he goes to the house to like kidnap Jack Jack, and he comes up to the front door, and the Darla, I think, the babysitter, she answers the door and she sees it's him, and she sees the big S on his chest, and she's like, "What does the S stand for?" And he's like,
sitter. Yeah, babysitter. I couldn't go around with the big BS on my chest. Obviously, you know why.
just the meme of him going like,
Sitter.
like even the fucking bonus content is exquisite for The Incredibles. Yeah, it's got Elastigirl, dude. Elastigirl awakened so many feelings inside me as a kid. Yeah, the scene, some of the action in this animated movie for families is better than action in like 90% of like big budget Hollywood movies. Like the scene where they're all in the jungle and they're letting loose with their powers, and you see Dash run away from two of Syndrome's henchmen, and they're in these like Star Wars like pod, like floating, vehicles or whatever, and it's like a chase scene, but it's with like a speedster, and I'd never seen that before, and it made me want to have superpowers, and they were like the first like kids that I ever saw with superpowers. Yeah, dude, I fucking love this movie, and the music. Oh, the fucking music in The Incredibles. So, if you don't know Michael Giacchino, you're lying to yourself. Of course you know who Michael Giacchino is. He's the composer for this movie and like so many other movies and shows that have amazing soundtrack. He did the soundtrack for Up, which he won an Academy Award for. He did the music for Lost. He did Ratatouille. He did Spider-Man Homecoming. He's done like 7 MCU movies. Yeah, he's just everywhere. And the big band music that they had in The Incredibles it sets this tone of like a throwback to old superhero. I don't know. It was like, I don't know how to describe it, but it feels very spy thriller noir. Yeah, noir. I almost said espionage and noir, and it was nuage.
Noir.
We can make that a word.
Nuage.
Yeah, it's just this big spy thriller, like ba-na, ba-na, and then like some dude on the hand drum doing, and then the opening scene where Mr. Incredible is in his heyday, and they play the ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. It's just, I'm getting goosebumps talking about this movie. You got to talk about it before I explode out of my seat.
I also really like this movie. Dude, do you remember our trampoline bit?
Yeah, I do. I do remember our Bob catch me or throw me.
Bob throw me.
So there's a scene towards the end of the movie where Syndrome, the bad guy, kidnaps their baby Jack Jack and flies into the air. And they're like, and this is after you think the movie is over and they beat the bad guy. And so the whole family on the ground doesn't know what to do. And Mr. Incredible is like about to throw a car, and Mrs. Elastigirl is like, "No, you're gonna hit the fucking baby, dumbass." And he's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And then she's like, "Bob, throw me." And then he throws her in the air, and then she catches the baby and parachutes down. But when we were younger,
we're like 10 years old on my trampoline.
Yeah,
because this movie came out like 2004, I think.
Yeah,
and we made up the alternate ending of Bob, throw me. Throws her. She's like, "Shit, I missed." And then
baby comes crashing out of the. And obviously, we had to pretend to also be the baby. So we would do that technique where you would have one person jump and then one person land.
Yeah, super bounce.
Yeah, we would super bounce, and then the person playing Jack Jack would like fall and like flail their arms and legs and just like splat on the trampoline.
Man, what
it
a
was
classic. Awesome. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Jack Jack Attack, because that's my favorite part of the whole experience is that short film. Dude, me and my siblings, we would like die laughing at the hijinks that the Jack would ensue in that little short.
Yeah. Well, because he has like a million powers.
Yeah.
And so you get to see this babysitter try to like keep him on a leash the whole time. And it's just it's hijinks. It's exactly what you said it was. He gets into so many different shenanigans, and I'm gonna pistol whip the next person that says the word shenanigans. It's a wrong movie. Very different movie. Yeah, and also I think Pixar is known for making movies that will make people very emotional. I know Toy Story 3 and Inside Out and a lot of the newer movies were made, even like Finding Nemo, have scenes that are genetically created to make people cry. And for a while, I didn't think that The Incredibles had moments like this. But I go back and I watch it as an adult, and I think that's really where it hits. Because I don't have kids, but there's a scene in the cave where Elastigirl, Violet, and Dash come to save Mr. Incredible. And she has a heart-to-heart with her kids, and she's like, because they're so excited. They're so excited to use their powers. They've never used their powers like to their extent before. And so they're both really stoked. And then Elastigirl, like as a mom, she's like, listen, these men are going to try to kill you. Right. And she's like very serious conversation for these kids. And that always gets me. And then there's a scene right before the final battle where for a long part of the movie, Syndrome leads Mr. Incredible to believe that he killed his wife and kids because they're in a plane and they're coming towards the island, and Mr. Incredible hears their distress signal from the room where he's like captured in. And so he hears the plane go down and he assumes that they're dead. And so when he sees them on the island again, he's like so happy. And then they get back to the mainland to fight the big robot at the end of the movie. And then the marital spats in this movie between, Helen and Bob, very realistic. And then there's a moment where they're like yelling at each other and the tension goes up, 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 up. And then Helen is like, why won't you let us help you? And then Bob is like, I don't want to lose you again. And he like grabs her by like the shoulders, and then like, I don't know, man. It gets me. It's awesome. The fucking... Also, side note, do you know the scene where Bob comes home after the burning building comes down and Helen is sitting in the chair and she turns around and they have that whole thing?
Yeah.
Did you see the video with the two Sonic voice actors reenacting that scene?
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah. You looked like you were about to say something and I interrupted.
I would say good job, Brad Bird.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, he also did the Iron Giant, which I don't think I ever watched, or I don't remember watching. But everyone, I recently saw a video on TikTok of someone like rediscovering that movie, and I think I gotta give it a shot.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I remember watching it not too long ago.
It was like, it came out in 92, I think, or it was before, it must have been before we were born. I think it was like early animation. It was before he was Disney. Because I think that was made by Warner Brothers, and Vin Diesel plays the Iron Giant, big old robot. So yeah, man, I don't know. One of these days we're gonna rank all of the Pixar movies, but that day is not yet happened.
Wow, it's gonna be a hell of a video. It's like what, 20 plus of these movies?
Yeah, we're gonna have to rewatch all of them again. Because we did it once, and it was years ago.
Well, all the ones I didn't see.
All the ones you didn't see, at least, yeah.
Because there was, a while ago, there was like 6 or 7 movies I haven't seen ever. So
yeah,
I watched all those. And yeah, none of them were super great. It's
I liked A Bug's Life, though. And Ratatouille fucking rips.
Yeah, Bug's Life, Jesus. Yeah, that was the only time I've ever seen that one.
Yeah. It holds up. I feel like Pixar was definitely trying to find their footing in like the comedy and like the balance, the crafting of the story. Whatever word I'm trying to find.
It's a good balance.
Yeah, they're trying to find a good balance. So yeah, but if you haven't seen The Incredibles yet, because it's one of the only Pixar movies with human characters and not, what if a car came to life, or what if toys were alive, or what if emotions were alive?
What if people were alive?
Yeah, this movie answers that question. What if people were alive? Yeah, go check it out. It's got an all-star cast. I don't remember any of the main cast, but Samuel L. Jackson plays Frozone, and Jason Lee from the My Name Is Earl and Alvin and the Chipmunks plays Syndrome. Yeah.
Mike from Breaking Bad plays the detective guy.
That's right. Yeah. I think that's in the second one, because I think
he's in. I know he's in the short film at least.
Okay, well, because I think after the first one, the original actor died. Because I remember when the second one came out, they had there was a story that I read where they had to like replace the voice actor for the detective, and even though he was only in one scene with them by the pool when they were doing the the supers thing. Either way, it's cool that whatever. Mike from Breaking Bad and also Saul, right. Bob Odenkirk is in the second one too.
Oh yeah, shit.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Just watch both of them. Watch both Incredibles movies. I like them both. I like superheroes and I like wholesome stuff.
Good shit.
Good shit. As you can see, very plain.
Well, how'd that get there?
And why are we in different positions than when we were a second ago?
I don't know. The world's a magical place.
Who's to say? Maybe there's a glitch in the Matrix and
the eclipse sucked out, fucked up the gravitational rotation and the time, and the plate tectonics shifted a little bit, and here we are.
The curvature of your eyes. Happy Eclipse Day for all those who observe and celebrate.
Yes. A few days ago, at least.
Yeah, at least. So now that we're done talking about wholesome shit, we're going to talk about that nasty garbage. No, we're talking about Foo Fighters again, which has got to be the 5th time that we're doing this on this podcast.
We did just talk about Wasting Light.
And we talked about the new album.
Yeah.
And Losing Taylor. And then we talked about... did we talk about... What was the last one before that? Medicine at Midnight? Pretty sure we did.
Did that come out when we were doing the podcast?
I think that was 2021.
Wow, goodness gracious.
I can't remember. Either way.
Whatever. We're talking about the third album today.
Talking about the third album, which is my third favorite album of all time. And I'll tell you why.
All threes. Everything comes in threes.
Yeah, right? Comedy comes in threes. You got to burp 2 more times before that's funny.
Maybe.
So... For anyone who watched my Happy Foo Year series, I was a young buck. I was inexperienced. I didn't really know how to form my thoughts when talking about... I didn't really know how to make videos. So if you go back and watch that video, I think it's like 4 minutes long. And there's no content or substance to it. So just ignore that and listen to me now. Because now I'm a lot more informed and I do know what I'm talking about. And I'm not some stupid fucking dumb idiot. Or whatever he says in I Think You Should Leave. Yeah, so there is nothing left to lose. I talked about in my ranking video, I don't think I listed it as my top Foo Fighters album of all time, which is weird. I think I gave it to Color in the Shape.
Yeah.
Because I had to judge it, objectively. I was like, listen, this one's my favorite, but that one is probably the best.
Fuck that. Fuck objectivity.
I do like objectivity, but I like this album more. And part of the reason why is when you're going through the Foo Fighters discography, up until this point, they had 2 albums. One, which was all Dave, and it was basically a garage demo. And then the second, which was a very hyper-produced, professional, big anthemic rock album that had Everlong and Dave on drums still, and My Hero, and these big, big hits. And so for the third album, between band members quitting and Dave going through a lot of really tough times, and I think he went through a divorce too after Color in the Shape. For the third album, they only had 3 members. The recently hired Taylor Hawkins, Nate Mendel on bass, and Dave Grohl on guitar and singing and vocals. And so instead of going back into the studio and doing this big production like they did with Color and the Shape, they had the means necessary to just record it at Dave's house. And I think it was Dave's house where they installed a whole studio in his basement, and everything was done on their schedule. They were like one of the biggest rock bands in the world, so they really could do whatever they wanted. And Dave said, you know what? We're going to do this shit at our own pace. And you can hear it on the record. All of these songs, even the really big, heavy ones and the faster ones like Breakout and Learn to Fly, I guess, is considered heavier. All of the songs sound so much. They sound so warm and relaxed, in my opinion. And especially when you get later in the album with songs like Aurora and Next Year and Ain't It the Life, you start to hear a lot of that comfortability shine through in the production and the songwriting and the performances. Everyone sounds so good, and the fact that it's only 3 of them playing these songs and on the recording, it's incredible what they're able to produce, and it sounds like such a more personal record because it was just the 3 of them going at their own pace, writing whatever they wanted, and doing it from the comfortability of Dave's basement. Yeah, I think I want to hear you talk about the album. I was trying to formulate my sentence in the middle of it.
I think it's pretty good. I mean, I think it's my number 2. I think it's the number 2 on my list.
Yeah.
Because pretty much like you said, all the songs kind of beat ass. You know, obviously it rips with Stacked Actors in the beginning, which is just kind of a very unique song in their catalog.
Yeah, it's a little bit more, I don't want to say acid rock, but it's very like, the
verses are kind of like super kind of trippy.
Yeah.
You know, you get these like hard verses, or I mean the hard choruses in the intro, and then it's like, you know, he had these like guitar chords that like wow, 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 like ring out in the verses and everything. Yeah, it's a pretty cool song. Breakout was always one of my favorites. Learn to Fly, I think, is also super unique. Because I don't know why for the longest time I thought that shit was a cover because it sounded so different from everything else.
It was it's very like, it was one of the first Foo Fighters songs, I think, up until that point. It sounds like a driving song. And I don't think they really had a whole lot of those, especially in Color and the Shape. It was very like loud and hard, and in the first album it was very grungy. So on this album there's a lot of songs that just kind of like ride, you know, and it's just very smooth and like drive with the windows down. And Next Year kind of feels like that. And my battery pack just died, so you're not going to see my face, but that doesn't matter. This is a podcast. You're listening to my beautiful, beautiful silky voice. But continue.
Generator, good song as well.
They played that at a Riot Fest.
They did.
I did not expect them to play Generator.
That was pretty cool because it has a voice box.
Yeah.
They also don't. It's a lot of songs on here are very different from everything else. You know, you got like the weird trippy verses in Stacked Actors. You get the super wavy thing in Learn to Fly. You get the voice box in Generator, and of course, Aurora is really good. MIA, I always get this chorus stuck in my head.
Yeah. Give Me Stitches is pretty good.
Yeah.
Live in Skin is probably one of the weaker songs on the album, but I still like it. There's just something. It's a very confident album. You know, like there are some times where an album will come out and you listen to the songs and you're like, man, that shouldn't have been on this record. But even the songs that like aren't necessarily my favorite on the album, I can still.
We're one cam in this bitch.
We're one cam in this bitch. Even like the songs that are a little bit weaker in my opinion, I still really like. And and I didn't find out until after his passing that apparently Aurora was Taylor Hawkins' favorite Foo Fighters song. So when we saw them at Riot Fest, that was, one of the first, that was the first time and only time that we saw them without Taylor. Dave made the whole speech about how, they're going to play it every show until they die, because it was Taylor's favorite song. And I fucking cried when when we saw them at Riot Fest and they did that song. And for me, I think one of the reasons why it hits so much more for me is because I lived in Aurora, granted Aurora, Illinois, but I lived in Aurora for like 3.5 years, and I have a lot of memories from when I lived in Aurora. So when I listen to the song Aurora, it hits on multiple levels. So yeah, man. I don't know when I'm going to do a cover of it, but
we both talked about this album on our channels, so
yeah,
just fucking watch it.
Yeah,
watch those.
Yeah, watch those. We go a little bit more in depth there. But yeah, there's nothing left to lose. I don't know where it sits on a lot of other people's lists of Foo Fighters albums, but
if it's not top 3, you're incorrect.
Correct. That's the right answer. It's got to be Wasting Light, Color, and the Shape, and there's nothing left to lose. It's just great. The trifecta, dude. So yeah, now we've almost reached the end of our journey in episode 42. And we're going to talk about a game that David's never played before, which I think is the best way to end. All right, unless there's another song you want to talk about.
No, just make sure we covered them all, and we did.
Okay. Oh, sick, dude. So, in my list of top 15 games, we talked about my ranking scale before, my ranking of my favorite games, and because we did 15, I don't know why we picked the number 15. It was just there's a lot of games that we like, but because we picked 15, there's a definite middle number in my list. So for me, every game below number 8 is a game that I either put on the list because it holds some childhood significance to me, but I know that there's a better version of it out there. So like with Gears 2, which we talked about in my last episode, I know that Gears 3 and probably Gears 4 and 5, technically speaking, just perform better, and they're more advanced games and they're on better consoles and they look better. But I just like Gears 2, and that's a memory specific preference. And everything above number 8, the middle of the list, is, I think, either the perfect version of those games, in my opinion, or they just stand on their own. So what do we do with the middle? What do I fucking put in the middle of my list? And the answer is a game that I played a shit ton, but it's a live service game, and it's a MOBA, and it's Smite. It's Smite. And the only reason that I put Smite in my top 15 games list at all is because I spent a shit ton of time playing it. And I think it would be a disservice to my memories with the game if I didn't honor it in some sort of way by talking about it as part of a top 15 games list or whatever. So for those of you who don't know, I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't know about this game. But Smite is a massive online battle arena game. I think that's what MOBA stands for. Kind of like in the vein of League of Legends, but as opposed to being top-down like a lot of MOBA games are, it is a third-person MOBA, and all of the characters that you can play as are real, actual gods from different pantheons and religions and stuff like that. So you can play as Greek gods, Roman gods, Hindu gods, Japanese
Jesus
gods. Not yet. Not yet.
How about the God of Rock?
Yeah, dude. I don't know. They have a... So they put very unique spins on all of the gods. Obviously, as with most MOBAs, there's a class system. So you can pick gods of one of 5 types, one of 5 classes. You have the attackers, not the attackers. Oh my god, you have a mage, which is like a magical attacker. You have the hunters, which are ranged physical attackers. You have guardians, self-explanatory. Tanks, some of them are magical, some of them are physical. You have, I think they're called healers or support. I can't remember exactly which one, but also self-explanatory. And then you have the assassins. Oh, and then the warriors. There's no support. I lied. They're
What? Are you kidding? You are the support, son.
Name that movie.
That's Gears 1.
Shit. Fuck. Yeah, so there's no support, but there are different, mages and guardians that fall into that support category. There are assassins who are very up close and personal. They do a lot of damage right away, but they're very weak, like glass cannons. And then you have warriors who are kind of like the best of everything. So they're kind of tanky. They sometimes have range. Sometimes they do a lot of damage. And so, for example, Thor is an assassin. So he uses fucking Mjolnir to like zip into a battle, and then he does high damage, and then he zips back out. Yeah, Loki is also an assassin because they're brothers.
Adopted.
Adopted. Yeah. Yeah, you have gods like Cthulhu is in the game. He's a guardian because he's really fucking big. And yeah, they added a bunch of different pantheons since the start of the game. So now there are Celtic gods. Or is it Celtic?
Celtic. Better.
Celtic sounds better. I know the basketball team are the Celtics. So I'm not sure where they got their name from. But yeah, they've added Celtic gods. They've added the I forget what pantheon Cthulhu is from. But they're just adding more gods, and they're in fact coming out with a Smite 2. But what's weird,
Lord help Nick.
Lord help me indeed. But what's interesting is they're coming out with a sequel, but they're keeping both games. They're keeping both games online, so you could switch between Smite 1 and Smite 2 if you wanted to, because both of them are still going to be live. Which sounds like to me they're going to kind of cater to two different play styles. Like, I'm sure it's going to be a very similar experience overall, but just in case someone has a preference for the play style of one, they could play that, or the play style of two. It's going to be cross-platform. It's going to be awesome. A lot of returning gods. And apparently any god that they release in Smite 2 is also going to be playable in Smite 1. So, I don't know, man. It's just fun for me. And I'm not a very online competitive game kind of person. But for whatever reason, Smite just hit all of the right buttons for me. They have crazy skins. They've done collaborations with a bunch of different, not even just shows and movies, but they've done musicians too. Like, they added the entirety of Slipknot into the game. I know. They have an Avatar, The Last Airbender collaboration. They have a Nicktoons collaboration where they put like Danny Phantom and XJ9 into the game. They have a Ninja Turtles collaboration, Transformers. So there's a lot of content that I think appeals to a lot of people in Smite. Obviously, the game came under a little bit of controversy, specifically with the Hindu gods, because I guess religious figures in India, they were like, that's not cool, and we don't like that. So you got to take them out of the game. Or specifically with Kali, they complained that she wasn't wearing enough clothes and that she was too exposed, even though in a lot of like religious texts and artists, I'm getting sleepy, dude. My brain's not working.
You're talking too much.
It's the eclipse. Yeah, that's what it is. There is a limit. I never thought there was a limit to how much I could talk, but I guess there is. Yeah, with Kali, even though in art from like hundreds of years ago, they show fucking titties all the time. It's just like, even in like textbooks that we would have in middle school and high school of like Greek paintings and stuff like that, and like statues. Dude, your statue, he has a fucking, his wang is just hanging all the way out.
My what?
The statue of David. Yeah. Hey, his little wieners just popping out.
I mean, that's Americans for you.
No, that's Italians. Is it Italians? Okay, hold on.
Oh, fucking hell, man.
Who built or who made the statue of David? This is an informative podcast now.
Michelangelo created David.
Okay. Michelangelo's David. Yeah, okay. He was an Italian sculptor, painter, and architect, and poet of the High Renaissance. Yeah, so it was the Italians. Fucking Italians.
You know what? Everyone loves nudity. What are you gonna do?
It's universal,
Hey,
dude.
what are you gonna do about it, man?
Yeah, censor nudity? Bullshit.
I can't do it, man.
Yeah. That's okay. I know.
I couldn't do live service games.
Yeah, it is. They're kind of a pain in the ass.
Because it's like, if we're being real, video games are a giant waste of time.
Yeah.
And multiplayer games are a step way beyond a waste of time. It's like, if I'm playing a game, it needs to end. There needs to be credits in there where
That's
I say,
fair.
okay, I'm done with this now.
That's fair. I will say, I agree, and I think I prefer single player games now, especially like as an adult. We were just talking about this with Persona, because you're playing Persona 3 Reload,
Yeah.
and I'm playing Fallout 4. Both games are very, very long, and they require a lot of hours to get through. And we were talking about how it's so difficult to find time to play those games anymore. I mean, it's difficult to find time to do anything anymore. But especially with like live, multiplayer games, I feel like there's a dedication that you need to have to get better so that you get to a certain point, especially now that they've quantified it and they have like rankings and different tiers that you can go at. Like, I'm sure that was the same way with Gears, right? Like stars or whatever they called it.
You rank up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I put way too much time in that shit. But that was
Right.
high school, so I could.
We had so much time, and it was fun to kill other people online. And that's why I think Call of Duty is always going to keep making games, because there are always teenagers that want to kill shit.
Yeah.
There's always teenagers that want to shoot things, and eventually that anger, you find other ways to let it out. Sometimes it's while you're driving on the way to work, or sometimes it's when you're letting your dog out and you start calling him an asshole. It's like, I can't call my boss an asshole, but I can call this thing that doesn't know what the word asshole means an asshole, and I let it off my chest. But with video games for teenagers, I feel like that's just go-to number one, because you can't drive anywhere, you can't drink, or at least like legally, or at all. Kiddos listening to this podcast, don't drink until you're 21. Or if you have a cool uncle in the family, and like every once in a while at a barbecue, he gives you a sip. No,
Or if you live in France or something.
Oh, and like the drinking age is 16.
Or some shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why there aren't as many French kids playing Call of Duty and calling my mom a bad name. So anyway, so off topic. I played a lot of Smite in college, and when I would come home from college, and the summer of 2016 was almost exclusively, there were days where I would just play Smite all day, and I would rank up, and I'd try to earn currency to buy new gods and new cosmetics and stuff like that. And now with Smite 2 coming out, who knows? It might be the same thing. It might be the exact same thing all over again. Hopefully not, because I have a job now, and
Yeah. Hopefully not.
yeah,
You can't.
I can't do it.
You simply can't.
But yeah, Smite developers, if you haven't thought about putting Jesus in the game yet, I think you should. I think everyone would really love that, especially the church. I think they'd really get a kick out of it, because they are notorious for being good sports and knowing how to take a joke. Yeah, I've talked to death this episode, so if you don't like the sound of my voice, I apologize after the fact, having listened to this entire episode. I hope you check out The Incredibles and listen to the Foo Fighters less listened to records, and I hope you pray today to whatever God you believe in, or not. Maybe just eat a block of cheese and go about your day. But
yeah, that seems like a good night to me.
Let's go get a block of cheese, David.
Block of cheese, Skyrim style.
All right. Well, oh, what is Moist Critical's? Is it? All right. See ya. Is that what he says?
Anyway, that's just want to talk about that a little bit. See ya.